Curse of the Weird Part 2. Strange Tales from Atlas pre-code horror comic books and later 1950s comic book series. Greetings, friends. This video is part 2 of the Curse of the Weird series. We're going to begin with issue number 3. And this is a very peculiar cover. At first, when I saw this, I thought, yeah, that's Basil Wolverton. But it's not. It's signed by Ron Wolverton Wagner. So artist Ron Wagner was doing a Wolverton take. Now this particular issue number 3 came out in February of 1994. And as you can see, we have The Return of the Brain, Menace of the Hog, and Till Death Do Us Part, and Enter Where Monsters Dwell. Man, do I love this splash page by Russ Heath. That is just beautiful. I'd love to see the original art for this one. Yes, the brain returns, folks. If you saw the first part of this series, you saw the story, the original story called The Brain. Well, this is the follow-up called Return of the Brain. And as it says, that's right, I'm back. I told you I would be. Nothing can destroy the brain. I may be anywhere, probably lurking right near you as you read this. I have no body. That was executed long ago by the American executioners in Germany. But the most powerful force for evil in all the world is still alive. The brain. And I found someone at last who will obey my every command. So it's kind of like further antics of the brain in this particular story. Russ Heath art, you can't lose, folks. Really cool stuff and very freaking weird. The brain, the head really gets around. He jumps around and he's hopping and doing all kinds of stuff. Next up we have a rather humorous little tale called The Hog. Of course, about a road hog who gets his just desserts. Really good art here by the one and only Joe Kubert. And that's one thing about this series, folks, when you got artists like Russ Heath, Bill Everett, Joe Kubert, Basil Wolverton. That's a hell of a lineup. And that's what this, you can expect in this 4-part series. Now, The Hog was originally presented in Journey into Mystery number 21, January of 1955. So just on that pre-code cusp. Nice splash page, though. Next up, we have Till Death Do Us Part. Now, this story was drawn by Victor Carabata. He was one of the artists that I interviewed in 2019 for my documentary film, Haunted Thrills. You can watch it on this channel, the Horror Mike channel on YouTube. And this is the only story that Carabata rendered in this series of Curse of the Weird. But this story is originally from Journey into Mystery number 15, April of 1954. And next up we have Where Monsters Dwell. Basil Wolverton strikes again. This is originally from Adventures into Terror number 7, December of 1951. And it's about this guy that has a camera that can project other dimensions that you can actually go into. It is a strange tale. Unfortunately, the scientist is rather insane, and he kind of shoves this guy into the other dimension, which is populated with all kinds of strange creatures, and it immediately makes the guy distorted and weird looking. And he gets attacked by this strange giant serpent, and there are these other weird creatures that are after him and so forth. And that completes our look at issue number 3 of Curse of the Weird. Issue number 4 of Curse of the Weird, You Are a Zombie. Now, if this image looks kind of familiar to you, you've probably seen it. And I'm going to show you what it's from in just a second. As it says here, Uncanny Tales of Terror. Now, this issue number 4 came out in March of 1994. And that, my good fiends, is where they got the cover from. One of the great Atlas stories in the pre-code era, no doubt about that. A tale called Zombie, drawn by the great Bill Everett and written by Stan Lee. Not only is this a really strange tale. It's also rather dark and poignant. Highly recommended. If you haven't read it, go check it out. Get this issue number 4 for $5. You might even be able to find a lower grade issue for a couple of bucks. The cover art here is by Tennyson Smith. Zombie originally appeared in Menace number 5 in July 1953. And basically it's about this zombie that is called by his master to perform various nefarious deeds, right? But at the end, there's one thing that he won't do. The art is fantastic by Bill Everett. I highly recommend it, folks. Highly recommend Zombie. Next up, we have another Basil Wolverton story called The End of the World. When will it come? How will it happen? Here's the story of a man who knows the answers. A really strange tale right here. Now, this appeared originally in Marvel Tales number 102 in August of 1951. Another thing about these reprints, too, is that the colors are really good on the reprints. Solid. They look sharp. Very sharp. Well done. Now, here is something I did not mention. I just kind of thought I would leave it as a bit of a surprise for you all. Hopefully you watched it this far. I may even put this in the credits. Worlds at War, art by Jack Davis. Yes, Jack Davis drew for Atlas. You can see that classic Jack Davis styling, the faces and the line art there. This is from Journey into Mystery, number 50, January of 1959. So late 50s Atlas, folks. And actually, this story is pretty relevant to, well, today, strangely enough. And it is an odd tale. But check out that marvelous Jack Davis art. And we end this issue with a story by Carl Wessler, art by Steve Ditko, and a tale titled, There'll Be Some Changes Made. Strange Journey into Mystery. Paul Haynes sought to change his fortune on a mere push of a button, but to his chagrin, he learned that the results of any changes are unpredictable. Really cool and strange story from Wessler and Steve Ditko. Now, this story appeared originally in Journey into Mystery number 33, April of 1956. There's some really cool Ditko art here. So basically the story here revolves around this guy that messes with time travel, right? And the moral of the story is, don't do it. Don't mess with time travel. It's just going to give you a lot of grief, okay? That's what's going to happen. So there it is, issue number 4 of Curse of the Weird, a fantastic issue. You got Bill Everett with Zombie, a really cool Jack Davis story in here. Of course, Steve Ditko, Basil Wolverton. What an issue. Once again, folks, there's issue 3. There's issue 2 and issue 1. 4 issues in the series. None of them are that expensive. I got these, all 4 of them, in great shape. About $22 for all 4 delivered. You might be able to find them cheaper at your local comic book shop. And as I said, if you're a fan of weird horror and sci-fi comics from the 1950s, this is a series you should have. Curse of the Weird. Definitely my favorite issue from the series is issue number 4. So if you don't want to get them all, I highly recommend issue number 4. So that concludes my look at Curse of the Weird. I hope you enjoyed this video series. And as always, please like and subscribe. Thank you.